Hi everyone, this is Carrie Parr with Pick Up the Pieces Tennessee. Today we are going to talk about how to make relationships with really tough students. And when I say really tough, I mean kids with pretty severe behavior problems or pretty severe disabilities where it makes them very difficult to keep relationships. But mostly I'm talking about students that have pretty severe behavior and they have a hard time making relationships. So how do you form relationships with tough students? That's what we're going to be talking about today. There are 3 things that I do when I'm forming relationships with really tough students. Number 1, I listen. I listen to the things they tell me. I don't talk in the middle, I don't interrupt, and I really don't even ask a lot of questions. I just listen to them talk. I listen to them and I sometimes repeat back what they tell me so that they know I'm listening. I give them a lot of eye contact, a lot of head nodding, and a lot of my eyes are showing that I'm listening, like I wide-eyed or I kind of squint a little bit when I'm talking to them, because it's very important that they feel like somebody is listening to them. So I listen by using my facial expressions and by repeating back what they say to me. For instance, if they said, "Miss Parr, this is what I did this weekend. I went home and I jumped off my bed onto the floor because I'm in a bunk bed. I sleep in a bunk bed and I jumped all the way off from the top to the floor." And I would say, "Oh, are you telling me you were on the top of your bunk bed and you jumped all the way off onto the floor?" "Yes, Miss Parr, that's what I did." "Oh, okay. Well, tell me more about that." Or I don't say anything and I let them keep talking. And I just listen and give them a lot of eye contact and I will repeat back what they're telling me. The second thing that I do when we have a good little rapport going of them telling me things and me saying, "Yes, I hear you and I understand what you're telling me," then I start to make sure I am available. I make sure I'm available. I'm available as much as they need me. Now, in a school setting, that's very difficult because we have lesson plans and we have classes and we have places to be and meetings. But I give them a time to make sure that I am always available for them every day at a certain time. For example, when I had a student one time that I was working with, he was out in the regular classrooms. He had a lot of behavior problems. I had students with disabilities in my classroom. I would let this student come every day when we went to the gym and he would play basketball with my students. First, he came to talk to me and I formed that relationship. And then the next thing, I was available to him every day at that time. He came in, he talked to me, and next thing you know, he was wanting to play with my students with disabilities. And he started forming relationships with them because he was with me during that time every day. So being available to me gives that student more opportunities to learn more about the other things that they might be good at, or the other ways that they can give back, or just live life in a different way. When I'm available to them, and when somebody who's trying to form a relationship with them is available, then they start to open their mind and listen to what you have to say to them. So the first thing I do is listen, and I use my facial expressions and I repeat back what I say. Then the second thing I do is I'm available. I make myself available to talk to them about anything they want to talk about and bring them along with whatever I'm doing, or just start up a conversation about other things that might be going on. And then lastly, I try and say yes. I try and say yes a lot to all the things that once we get to that point and we've established rapport and they start to trust me and I start to, I wouldn't say trust them, but I start to understand them a little bit better. I try to say yes to the things they are asking me. They have been told no by many people in their life, probably people at home, probably people at school. I try to be the person that can say yes. Now, if they are talking about, can I bring my PlayStation to school to play games if I make my goal today? I say, well, I don't usually say no. I say, here's the problem with that idea. Let's talk about some other ideas. I try not to say no as much as possible. I try to really talk through the things that I would typically say no about and say yes to the things that we can say yes to. For example, talking about PlayStation, no, I wouldn't say, no, you can't bring it. I would say, well, here's the problem with you bringing it to school. There's a lot of things that can happen that would make that a really tough, a tough day if you brought that to school. What if something happened on the bus? What if you get to school and they don't let you play it because you're at school? So I say, what are some other things that we could do? Well, they start talking about, well, I have this board game I can bring. Yes, you can bring this board game to school and we will find time to play it. Yes, I try and find ways to scoot around the word no so I can say yes. And that takes some finesse, it takes some experience, and it takes some creativity and problem solving in the moment. But I try and say yes as much as possible because a lot of these kids that are tough have been told no by their parents, by the school, by their teachers, by their peers. They need somebody to say yes, or they need somebody to help problem solve with them and through their thinking process so they can get to a yes. So those are the 3 things I do when I'm trying to form a relationship with tough kids. I try to listen and repeat back what they say. I try to be available to them, and I try to say yes as much as possible. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.